everybody, welcome back to my channel, welcome back to a new sewing tutorial. Today I have for you the Cherish wrap dress from Designer Stitch, and I had this for a while in my mind to make a tutorial for it. It's a wrap dress made out of jersey, and especially designed for rayon jersey, so a jersey with a really nice drape. And we are making this dress, this one here. And a few details about the Cherish dress. It has this little collar that you have to take care that you are not sewing it the wrong way on your dress, as in this collar the longer part is getting attached to the bodice and the shorter one is the one that is coming nicely here against your skin. It has a facing that is going to be top stitched from the outside, and it has also some pleats in the bodice and also in the skirt, and you have a fisheye darts in the back and some darts also in the skirts in the front. For the rest, I'm going to use my serger for the main construction, and in combination with my sewing machine. And I just want to say that you don't need to do the steps exactly as I make them. For example, I'm sewing my darts with a straight stitch, and also let me think, I'm basting also with straight stitches. But if you don't feel comfortable and you want to make straight stretch seams with your sewing machine for your darts and stuff like that, please do it. It's just the way I'm making it, and this is the way I'm showing it in the sewing tutorial. So please be free to adjust where you think you have a better way to do stuff. The same for the darts in the bodice, in the skirts. I'm just using a straight stitch on my sewing machine. I'm putting the foot pressure on my sewing machine much lower than normal, and also I'm using a 3-length stitch instead of 2.5 what I'm usually using in my woven fabrics, let's say. So for the rest, also for the hems, the hem I make them with my cover stitch machine, but of course if you don't have a cover stitch machine you can use a twin needle or you know, any other way you like to hem your jersey garments. With that being said, I'm going to start the tutorial. I'm starting with the preparation, the things I'm doing in advance, and then step by step we are going to sew. Just a little bit head up, I did forget to sew to let the hole, of course, in the right side seam, thing that I always forget when I'm making wrap dresses, but I will put the small video between and tell you to do that. But even if you forget that, it's really easy to adjust after. So with that being said, I wish you good luck with making your own Cherish wrap dress. I'm making the one with the sleeves, with the long sleeves. So yeah, I'm here with my friend to show you how to make the Cherish wrap dress from Designer Stitch. Enjoy! Of course, we are going to begin with the things you need to have prepared before you are starting to sew this dress. So I have here my pieces all cut, and I'm going to walk you through a little bit. So this is the front bodice of the dress, of course. I have it here, of course, left and right. Cut them mirrored. And for marking the pleats, I'm not marking any lines, let's say like they are here. I'm just making a small snip, because in the end you don't need to stitch these pleats. It's only the idea that they need to be formed in the seam allowance that you are going to baste them for further construction. So it's really not necessary to mark on your fabric all these lines. My pattern pieces are looking a little bit different, because I have them, this is the pattern I pre-tested, so that's why it's also included with seam allowance, but your pattern might look a little bit different because you have it already from the shop, so it will not have seam allowances marked on, but they are included. And as I said already earlier, the seam allowance in this pattern is 6 millimeters or 1/4 of an inch. So for the front, only a small snip to mark the pleats, as you can see here, and it's really not necessary to mark the lines. For the bust dart, again, I have only the bust point here marked and the small snips here at the legs of the dart. I'm going to do the same, my usual method, where I am putting a pin here in the bust dart point, and then I'm putting the two notches together from the legs, and then when everything is said and done, if I sew from here to the point, I'll have the perfect dart. So only the point dart marked and two notches for the dart legs. So this is the front, no preparations extra needed for the front. Then we have the back, or let me see, I'm going to show you first the skirt. So this is the skirt. Let me take this away. So this is the skirt, the front part of the skirt. Of course, again, cut it 2 times, so mirrored with each other. And also for here I have notches for the pleats, and I realized that I have no marks for the darts, or I do. I do have here. You have here. You can see here. I have a small X, where the point of the dart is exactly in the middle of this X, and 2 notches for the dart legs. Again, also in this case, you should not handle your pieces too much and let them hang and stuff like that, because you know you want to keep your pieces in shape. So small notches for the pleats. Of course, we will have to remember that the pleats are coming up like the arrows here, and the dart point marked, and 2 notches for the legs to mark the waist darts on the skirt. So this is the front. And also here for the front we have this edge here that should be that is going to be folded. So also here I have 2 small notches, one here for the first fold, that is 3/8, and then so this is coming like this, but then to the back on the first line, and then again on the second line is coming like this, and then you have the front of the skirt hemmed. So this is the front. The next piece is the back, and as you might know by now, the back is in one piece, and for shaping there are 2 fisheye darts. Let's see, here on the waist. So these are the waist darts. Of course, mine is looking a little bit crooked because I made here sway back adjustment, but I did straighten up the waist dart on my fabric. And also here I have, let me see, here I did mark the darts. I hope you can see a little bit with tracing paper, and you can totally use that also for the rest of the let me see, where is my tracing wheel? I cannot find that now. Tracing wheel, oh yeah, here it is. So you can totally use tracing paper and a tracing wheel to trace your darts. I did do here, I see the fisheye darts, they are marked with this because I really want to be sure how they are coming on the fabric. How you can also easily mark the waist, the fisheye darts. Again, from the pattern you can transfer the point of the darts and the widest part of the darts here, so the leg of the darts, and then if you put a pin here and then in the points you also have, but to be sure I used tracing paper and the tracing wheel. So this is it for the back. And what I also like to do here is, where is it? The neckline is here. I like to make a really small snip here at the center back, because when I put the collar and when I put the facing, I can use this center back notch to align all those pieces. So a little notch, again, remember please, I keep saying that, but it's very, very important. where is my notch? It's here. It's very, very important that you make your notches within the seam allowance, and because the seam allowance in this pattern is only 6 millimeters, you really need to make your notches maybe a 3 millimeter snip in the fabric, because like that you are sure that you are not coming in the seam line, let's say. So this was the back. Then I have the sleeves here, and again I'm using here my pre-test pattern. So you might have other lines on your sleeve, also for shorter sleeve. This is the longest sleeve, and I made a dress, 2 dresses already from this pattern. So I know I want them with a longer sleeve. I can always decide later to just cut it and make it shorter. So the sleeves, again on the sleeve, very, very important is to have your shoulder notch marked on your sleeve. So make a little snip, and I have here is saying front. On your sleeve might be only 1 notch, and on the back 2. So I made 1 notch for the front, and as almost always you have 2 notches in the back. I also cut here 2 notches just to you know, to inform myself that this is the back. So these are the sleeves. And then I have here the ties, and the ties are different lengths. I did not use the laying out of that is instructed in the pattern, because I always like to do it myself like I want. And I cut it, I made it in half, because I cut it on the fold with the stretch of the fabric. And I just cut it, I did it in half, and then I know that now my thing is a little bit too long, and I'm going to turn it because I want to make this this little edge here. Of course you can make it also square, it's not necessary to be on an angle, but this is actually very easy. I can put it like this, and now I can make the shape for one end like so, and now I have it shaped. And of course I have for this one the same. I'm just going to cut one end to make it and there are different lengths, because one of course needs to go around your body. So let me see, I'm going to place this one like this, just going to cut it. And you know, it's a knit fabric, this jersey, this rayon jersey, or maybe you use cotton jersey, is really you know, even if you make a small mistake, it's not going to be a big deal. Okay, so the ties are also prepared, also cut. I'm not going to interface those. And speaking about interfacing, I do have a few pieces that I'm going to interface, and I'm going to give you a few tips on interfacing also. This is the back neck facing, a small piece cut on the fold. I have it here cut from interfacing one time and one time for fabric, like so. This is going to be interfaced. I have the collar pieces, of course, cut also, and I think the instruction is to interface only one part of the collar. I'm going to interface both because I want to have a little bit of structure in the collar pieces. So this is cut on the fold. Important to mark the notch for the shoulders. It's making everything really much easier to match with the bodice. So these are 2 pieces of the collar. And then I have also 2 pieces of interfacing for the collar. Here is a really lightweight interfacing, and I know that it's going to give only stability and a little bit of structure, so it's not going to make the collar really stiff, let's say. And the same, I have here the facing, the front facing, and what I did on the front facing, I just cut it at the, as you can see, at the lower part. This part is coming to this is the neckline, and this is the inner part of the facing. This is coming at the waist, and you are going to see at the moment you have to bag this facing, let's say, with the rest of the skirt at the waist. And I made it just a little bit wider than the pattern. I'm going to put it here and show you for a minute. So your pattern might be, let's see, I'm going to take one away. Your pattern might be something like, let's see, this is really soft, you see. So this is the pattern, and I just added maybe 1 centimeter extra here and then blend it back in the original shape, because I want to have a little bit more extra width here. And if you are curious to see how that is going to work, I'm going to invite you to go further in the video to see how this is working, and if you find it better, you can use what I'm doing here, a little bit extra here at the lower edge and blending back, or the original pattern piece. Although I think the original pattern piece might be enough. My previous makes, they were made with my pre-testing pattern, and that one had just a little bit skinnier edge here, and it was for me not enough. That's why the adjustment on the final one, but to be sure I'm adding a little bit more. So now I'm going to, oh, and I just want to say a few things. To cut my pieces, I used again my rotary cutters, the smaller one for the, you know, the rounded edges like the sleeves and the collar and the neckline, and the big one a little bit for speed. And I have here, I am going to apply some clear elastic in the shoulder seam and also in the waistline, in the front waistline to I don't know, to keep the dress in place on at my waist, because you know especially this rayon jersey can start to hang a little bit because it's pretty drapey and a little bit heavy. Or you can also add some of this, you know, this is that stuff that has do I have open? I need to open this one. This is bias tape T12 from let me see, from Flisselina. I need to show it to you like this. And is that bias tape interfacing tape that is cut on the bias, of course, and that it has a row of straight stitches in it. The problem with this is, I mean, of course, is the stuff that you use for stabilizing your shoulders, but I like the clear elastic because it does keep a little bit of the elasticity also of the shoulder seam, but is keeping it in place. But again, this is something that is getting used for keeping edges in shape. And you can use this for the shoulder seam, and also for the back neckline. I probably am going to use this one to be sure that my back neckline is not going to stretch. I'm going to show you in a minute how I fuse it on the fabric. So this is everything. I have here also some fine pins, because I noticed that with the other pins that I'm working normally, those ones I do have some problems to get in the fabric. And I am going to use my serger for the most of the construction, and for darts and smaller stuff I'm going to use my sewing machine. So the first thing what I want to show you is how I'm going to interface all those little pieces, like the front facing, or I'm not going to show you all of them, because if you see one I think it's enough. So I'm just going to show you how to interface this little back facing. And again, I think on your piece might say something else, but again I'm using another kind of an older original pre-testing pattern. So interfacing, I just want to share with you a few tips to be successful when interfacing. First of all, this is my small ironing board. I'm using normally for my usual sewing a different one, and I just changed the cover on that one, and also on this one I want to protect it from the glue that is on the interfacing, and for that I'm always putting any kind of, I don't know, this is a piece of cotton that I'm putting on my ironing board to be sure that there will be nothing on to stick on it on my cover to make it dirty. So I think this is something that should go, you know, first before you start interfacing. The next thing, and I really hope, I think this is not the best choice for me, because I don't know if you can see my interfacing, but you can, I think you can see it pretty well. Something what I'm always doing when I'm interfacing, if I'm not block interfacing, and by that I mean to interface a bigger piece of fabric from where I start then to cut smaller pieces like collars and small facings. So if I'm not block interfacing, when I'm just putting a piece of interfacing over a bigger piece of fabric and just interfacing it, when I interface small pieces like this that are already pre-cut, also the interfacing and the fabric, first of all what I like to do, I put the interfacing part with the glue up, and with my iron, it's the second on the second stand, I think that is on my iron, the wool stand, with steam. I'm just going to steam, but you need to keep the iron, let's say, a few centimeters up, so don't put it on your interfacing because you are going to stick it on your iron. I'm just giving it a lot of steam. And you cannot see it, but I can. The interfacing is going to shrink, and I know there are people that are washing their interfacing to shrink it or stuff like that. I'm not doing that. And I also saw in a craftsy class where somebody was saying that, you know, your interfacing, it doesn't shrink, and if you get that orange peeling, I don't know what, then is because you did not fuse it well. Well, that might be true, that if you move your piece while it's warm, that the glue is not going to stick well, and then you get those you know, you get that orange peel look on your interfaced piece. But at least the interfacing what I'm using, and it's not really the cheapest one, but it's also not that really expensive one, it does shrink. And if you don't do this, if you don't pre-shrink it, I mean, if you don't do that, you will see that by the end, when you are done with interfacing your piece, your interfacing is going to be your piece is going to be much smaller than the original. And I had that in the beginning when I started sewing, and I was thinking, how is this possible? You know, where my facing in a jacket, facing that is interfaced with fusible interfacing will be too small. And that is because while I'm fusing the interfacing onto the fabric, everything is going to shrink. So pre-shrink your interfacing by just giving it a really good steam before you put it on the fabric. Another tip is that because this is a really light interfacing, you need to be sure that you have the glue now on your fabric. Check 2 times or 3 times to be sure. And then use a pressing cloth. And my tip is to have a pressing cloth that you use only for interfacing. And I saw one time in a video from Nancy Zeman that she had marked on the piece of organza that she was using for interfacing, she had marked this piece up or something like that, that you know that this piece, this thing needs to be up to be sure that you are not going to put the pressing cloth the other way and the lime that is on it to put it on your iron. So put the pressing cloth, because this interfacing is really thin, and you have the chance that it's going to stick on your iron even if it's correctly on your fabric. Another tip, please don't do like that on your interfacing. You should not do that. I just saw a video a few days ago, and ironing like this, you don't need to do that. You just need to press it. Don't press it through the table, but put a little bit of weight on it. Wait a few seconds, look what your information on your interfacing is saying, and everything is going to be okay. But don't do like this with your iron. That's going to mess up everything. And having a pressing cloth is really helping to put everything well together. So this is my piece. This is the neck, back neck facing. I'm going to let it to cool a little bit, and now it's perfect. So this is ready to, I'm going to serge the edge here, and then is ready to be worked on. The same I'll do for the collars. I have here a collar piece, and I'm going to talk you a little bit through the collar because it's a little bit, the first time I did it wrong when I saw it. Again, just give it a good steam. Don't put your iron on it. And you see it, even if you put it with your lime, with your glue part on it, is not going to stick because you just give it a little bit of warmth. So the glue is getting a little bit soft. And be careful that you have no glue rests here. I don't, because I did not stick it on it. And now just put it on. Sometimes now, well, in a fabric like this is not really the case, but when you are working with soft fabrics, what is also very useful is to use your pattern piece to see if your piece is still on shape before you are starting to interface stuff. So because sometimes, you know, if you have your piece like that and you put your paper, you will see that that's not going to be well, and if you are interfacing like this, it's going to stay like this. So, and by that you are also sure that you are not stretching anything. And these are only a few steps that taking just a little bit of time, but that in the end will provide you with pieces that they are really correct, and that is going to make also everything really easy to work with. So this is my collar piece. I'm going to continue interfacing everything, also the front facings. Let's see, where is my mark? My mark is here, is saying up, so this must be up. If it was like this, it was wrong. I cannot see the up. This is the up. And then again I can start to fuse this. And I'm going to meet you back with starting constructing the Cherish dress. So I'm thinking to start making all the pleats and all the darts, and then we can go from there. I think that's these are getting all basted or sewn, so we can then go very fast with the construction. So I have here already pleated the front, as you can see, one front, and I'm going to show you how to do it on the next one. So let's see, this is my front, and as we have here on the pattern piece, the pleats, or at least you should have on your pleat, on your pattern. On mine they are not, but in the instruction you can see that the pleat lines are going up. So this one is to go up and this one is to go up. Again, I marked only the with notches, only with notches I marked, without any lines. There is not necessary, and don't try to do this in paper because it's, you know, it's really not going to work. So just do it on directly on the fabric. So I have here the front. Let me see, I hope you can see. So let's see, I can make first let's say this one. I have here one notch. I hope you can see it. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more. Yes, so I have here one notch, and I have here another one here where my nail is pointing, and I'm going to take this one. So the bodice must be facing up. So I have here, I'm going to put a pin. Let's see, one notch is here. It's really, you really don't need to have those lines marked, and one is here, like so. And this pin is going to come here, up, and so those notches need to meet. I'm going to put a pin. I'm going to rearrange this at the machine a little bit better. So they need to come up to meet each other, so my notch with the other notch. And then I have these ones here, and the notch is here exactly in the middle of this point. And this one needs to come here, and to do that you are just going to take the waist, you are going to place it like this, and as you can see here, everything is coming together. Actually, you are not going to be it's not possible to put it like the notches are going to meet like so, so don't try to do any crazy stuff. I'm going to do it again, you are just going to take the waist and bring it, you know, to form like a small dart here, like so. And this is going to be basted. So if I am to put some pins, I'm going to show you in a minute. So this is going to be basted with a 6mm seam allowance. You can start from here, 6mm, and then this is going to become your waist. Let's see, your waist. This is going to be sewn and it's going to be flush. When everything is sewn, you'll see it's going to be flush with that with this little dart that you're sewing to make the pleat. So this is like this, and the pleat is going to face up. So I'm going to baste this in place. I'm going to go to the machine, and the fronts are done. And also while I'm there, I am going to make also the darts, and I'm going to show you, of course, again my way of sewing the darts. I'm going to stick a pin exactly in the center of that X, and then I'm going to put together the notches that are marking my the legs of the dart, like so. And then the point is exactly where the pin is coming in, and then I know that I need to sew from here to here, and I'm going to do again that trick with the thread. What you can do, of course, you can use here a zigzag stitch, a small zigzag stitch, but you know what, I'm just going to use a normal straight stitch. I'm using that, I use that all the time in my other makes, and I had no problems, but be free to use a small zigzag stitch to sew your darts. And this is the front skirt, this is one of them. And also here we have a dart in the waist, and also the pleats. So for the pleats here, also on the skirt pattern, you have information. The pleats are going up, so from the edge away, and there is here the waist dart, and of course the treatment is exactly the same. Let's see, so we say that the pleats are coming up, and where are the pins? This is the first one that is coming to this notch here. So I'm just going to pinch it and then bring it to my notch. Again, don't try to do this on paper because it's really not going to work. Put a pin on it, put another pin. This is getting basted, and then you have here another notch, and this notch is coming also up to meet. Just going to put it like this, put a pin on it, and then fold it back. Where is my notch? Is here. I hope you can see on this fabric. I really did not have something I don't know, plain, but I really wanted to have something that I like in order to wear the dress also. So these are my pins, and if I am to unfold everything back, so they need to face up, and this is how they are looking now. I hope you can see. I'm going to zoom this really well in. So these are the pleats here. I'm going to repeat for the other skirt. So now we need to sew the color together before we go further with the construction. Then is this done and we have it on hand. So I have here the color which is interfaced, and in this pattern the inside curve is going to be sewn because this is going to be the outer edge of the color. So I'm going to sew now the shorter end at ends and this inside curve with a 6mm seam allowance. So I have my collar here, and I'm just going to cut a little bit of this corner, as you can see, and here also a little bit. Just cut the corner, not really, because you know when this is going to be folded, needs to have some space here in the corner, and if you had the full corner you'll have only fabric bunching. And what I like to do even in this case is to try to open this seam a little bit, because like that I know that it's going to turn really nicely. So every time when you need to turn something, I think it's a really good habit to press the seam first open, and you'll see that everything is going to press much nicer. Let's see. Okay, here just a little bit with the tip of my iron, because I don't want to press the whole thing. And this one is just a, okay, let's see, it's just a little one. Try not to burn your fingers. Okay, this wooden thing, you can buy it in the fabric stores or online. They are quite expensive. This one I found on the internet some pattern information, and my father brought me from Romania this wood, and we did put it here together. So these are my pieces now. They are you see the seam allowances are open, pressed open, and I am just going to, let's see, to peel this a little bit better. Open, as you can see here and here, like so. Then I'm just going to push it to the inside, and I think it's already looking really nice. As you can see, I have here a bone point turner, or what's the name? And again, as I always say, form the point on the turner and don't push the turner into the point, because you get a hole. Okay, let's see here the same. I have the seam allowances open, and as you can see, it's already turned really nicely, so I don't need to do anything anymore. And I'm going to put it on the table, and I'm just going to press it, maybe favoring just a little bit the seam to the part that I want to have it inside. Let's take a look at the print here. This one is like this, the print. I can still decide which one I think I want to have this darker one. Here I have a little bit, this I don't like, so I'm going to use this part as the inside color. So I'm going to favor that seam just a little bit to the inside of this, let's say to the inside color that is going to sit against my skin. Okay, so I'm going to press this all the way around, or the edges I just sew, and later you can baste the outside edge together to be sure that it's going to stay in place and it's not going to shift, especially because I'm going to put this together with the, I think I'm going to put it with the serger, and of course there is a big chance that the stuff is going to get, I don't know, moved around. Again, keep favoring, and by favoring I mean, you see the seam is just a little bit rolled to the inside color, and from this side I have a really neat edge. So I have here just a little bit more. Okay. And this is now done. So I'm going to baste it here. I have a little bit extra here, of course, because I favorite one and the other one is going to be longer, but it's really okay. I'm just going to trim it to make it the same, and baste it here around, and this is ready to go, because this is going to come, let's say, if this one is this is my neck, it's going to come like this on my neck. Or yes, like this. Or no, I'm not sure I'm going to orient this video. I think it's going to be like this. So this is how it needs to be on your skin. Further, I'm going to do this in a minute. Further, I'm going to make the front pleats, because that one can look a little bit odd to make. Oh, let's see, I lost the pin somewhere here. I hear it. Put it away. So the first thing that I want to sew in this one is to make that little pleat that is on the waist part, on the bodice, on the front bodice. So I'm just going to start here from the point, and I'm going to come all the way here. This is more like a basting stitch, of course, to keep this pleat in place. And I am just going to, I know that I have a 6mm seam allowance, try to be within the seam, or maybe one stitch away, let's say one width of the needle away to the seam allowance, because then you are coming with a skirt and then everything is going to be nice enclosed. You don't need to take any basting stitches out. So I also have my presser foot pressure a little bit lower, let's say, so it's not pressing too much on it. I'm just going to baste this. You don't need to backstitch here. I hope you can see well. I'm going to take this away. And just a little bit more. I'm going to cut my threads. And then I have here the other pleat we made. So this pleat that is on the front side of the bodice, and it needs to face up as we made it. I'm going to take this away, and also here 6mm seam allowance. Try to stay within, and this is done. So this is how you make the pleat. I'm going to try to put the machine a little bit away to show you. So I have it here. Let's see, this is the front. So you see this one is facing up, that pleat, and here this one that is on the waist, when you are going to sew, this is going to be flush like this. So I have the pleat basted here, and actually, to be sure that I'm going to keep it in place, I'm just going to fold this back, and I'm going to make a basting stitch again here. And this is actually the final position of this pleat, as you can see. So again, I basted first like this, and then I'm going to peel this back, and then the pleat is formed, as you can see very nicely, 1 and 2. Again, if you feel that you can skip the first basting, please do it. But I think like this you have definitely a perfect pleat with flush with the waist. So I'm just going to, you can also do this with the hand, but you know, we have the machine here. I'm going to bring it back a little bit to the front. Hope you can see. Put the needle back down, and again within that 6mm seam allowance stay. And I can definitely feel that my presser foot pressure is a little bit lower, so it's fitting everything much easier. Okay, so now this is done. This is completely prepared now to be sewn on the, well, at least the pleats to be sewn onto the skirt. But I want to make, of course, also the bust dart, and I'm going to show you that one too. And after that I'm going to make off camera everything and meet you back on starting constructing this. Let's see, I'm just going to pull a little bit longer thread for my needle. Put like this, orient a little bit better. And where is my bust dart? I have it here. So I have the dart here. Also this one I'm going to stitch with a straight stitch. If you don't trust it, please be my guest, make it with a straight stitch. I'm going to use a straight stitch. So here is the point of my dart, and here are the legs. Put these notches better. And if I am to make it straight, that I don't have any folds here, then I know that my dart is perfectly aligned. I'm going to put thread to the back, and I'm just going to, the seam allowance here is 6 millimeters, so I know that the first 2 stitches in the seam allowance must be straight. I don't know if I want to backstitch here. This fabric is, and then I have my thread, and I'm going to bring it, don't pull anything, and I'm going to aim it here to my point, and my dart is still nice and straight. I don't need to pull this thread, but I'm really going to use this only as a marking if I have problems aiming to the point. Don't pull it, just place it on the fabric. Pin away and stitch off. So this is how it's looking. The thread can be snipped. We don't need it anymore. And I don't knot my dart, I just let it like this with a little bit longer thread. Again, if you want, you be free to do it. And then the dart is going to be pressed downwards at the pressing table, and this is looking really nice and neat. I'm going to continue also all the darts in the back and the front skirts, and we are ready to construct the dress. I'm here at the skirt, and I just want to remind you that you should place or orient your pleats up, so not to the edge of the skirt, but up to the waist, let's say. So I have here one, and I want to baste them in place. And then I have also the second one here. Let me rearrange it a little bit better. Of course, this fabric is really forgiving. I mean, it's jersey and it's stretchy and stuff, but you should try to orient this. You need to put them to orient them, so anyway, as they need to be by pattern. But you know, a millimeter or 2 in this fabric is really not a big deal. I have here one. I'm going to go back for the dart in a minute, but I have here also the other one. Let's see. And also in this case, they need to be oriented up, like so, up to the waist. And also here a little bit of sewing. Put this away. I have here all my pleats and darts that they are sewn. So the darts on the skirt, the pleats are facing up. I have here a dart, and you have to press all the darts at this point, and the darts I'm pressing with the seam to the center of the piece. So these ones are pressed with the bulk to the center front, and I'm going to repeat that for all the pleats, for all the darts. And I'm going to show you in a minute also the back darts. These are the darts, the fisheye darts sewn in the back, here and here. And I'm just going to take the dart. And I know they are not really straight, but in this fabric, I mean, this is going to be so stretchy, you're not going to notice anything. And I'm going to press with the bulk to also towards the center back, and like this. And again, the same for the other one. The bulk needs to be pressed towards the center back. And now everything is ready to go. So this is the dart, and this is also the dart. so they are both pressed nicely to the with the bulk, with the thickness of the dart toward the center back. So now I have the back here, and we are going to start constructing the dress. And I have, I was thinking you can also put, of course, some of that stabilizing tape here in the neckline, but I'll not make it really stiff, because you do need a little bit of that stretch to go around your body. And so I'm going to put the clear elastic in the shoulders now, when in one time attaching it to the, so the bodice, the front with the back, and the elastic into the seam immediately. And oh, unfortunately I forgot to turn off the camera, or to turn on the camera to film this step, but I have here the shoulder seams attached with the elastic, the clear elastic in the back, and so here they are both, and because I want to have the clear elastic on the back of the seam, so when I press, the seam is going to be covered. I'm sewing with the back bodice up, and I just want to show you how. So I do have some, I think 2 tutorials here on YouTube on how to sew the clear elastic directly in your shoulder seams with the serger. But here I have the elastic, and I'm going to cut it on a corner. Let's see if you can see that. So it's cut on a corner, and I'm just going to put the presser foot on my machine up. I'm lifting also the needles a little bit up, and with my tweezers I'm just going to insert this into the into the hole here of the presser foot. It's a little bit fiddly always. I hope you can see it. I don't know, help it a little bit, maybe with a needle. This takes a long time. It's always taking a long time when I need to film it. So I'm just feeding it here as much as I can. Put the presser foot down, take a few stitches, and it's done. And let's say that this was my my 2 pieces. The back bodice is up, but this is only a sample. And I'm just going to put it here. Lift your presser foot. The elastic is well anchored into the stitches there, so I just can sew. Even if I'm using my differential feed on 1 step higher when I'm sewing the normal seams, in this case I have it on neutral because I don't want to have any gathering. And I don't pull, I just let it hang here in the front. I'm going to stop this, and when I'm finishing the seam, I'm just cutting the elastic, and I'm finishing the normal seam if I was to seam this normal. And this is how it's looking. It's very stretchy, but it's going to keep the shape. It's not going to stretch out because of the elastic. And this will be the front of the seam in the garment. So because we have the shoulder seams already attached, we can also prepare the facings. So I have here the little facing, the shorter edge of the neck facing, the front facing I should say, and this is also going to be sewn with a 6mm seam allowance. For further construction we'll need also the ties to be sewn, so I'm going to sew the shaped edge of the tie and the long edge on both of them, and then we can put together the. Here is the facing, which is attached at the moment, and also serged all the way around. I just used the 4-thread serge that it was already on the machine, so this is also ready to go. So I'm going to make the ties and meet you back. So I have the ties already sewn. I don't really know which one is the right, which one is the left, but I'm going to measure. Let me see, the one that is going on the right, on the left bodice, that one is going to be the shorter one, if I'm not mistaken, but I'm going to check on my pattern. And I'm just going to press this little corner here one time. Let's see. You can sew this also with a sewing machine, but I like to sew it like this, and you know, it's is this this jersey that is really and because we are working with jersey, you will definitely have also a stretchy fabric, because this is what you need for this pattern. This is really much easier to turn than with a woven belt. So it's almost turned. I'm going to work this that corner a little bit to give it a nice shape. Let's see. And I just want to take it easy out and let it, because I pressed it a little bit, it's going to get a little bit nicely formed already. And sometimes you can use a pair of tweezers, like so, to help it come a little bit out. Again, it's not really possible when sewing with your serger to make a perfect corner, I think, but really, who is going to watch exactly? But I think this is good enough. If I'm going to press it a little bit, it's going to be even better. I'm going to repeat for the other one, the other tie, turn it and shape it a little bit, and then this is going to be ready to be sewn. I think I can work this one a little bit better out, like so. And this is, I need to press it, of course, now, give it a nice, or you can let it also like that, but I think it's not going to look really nice. So we need to have it a little bit with an edge. Must not be, you know, don't spend a half day on pressing this. Give it a little bit of steam. See, it looks already better. So I'm going to continue pressing this and turn the other one, and then we can go to put some things together. So let's start a little bit constructing this dress. So I have here the shoulder seams that they are pressed, they are sewn, and I'm going to press the seam allowance to the back, like so. And you can also use your pressing ham, or, you know, another surface that is going to give you the possibility to press this nicely. And use my hands a little bit. So now I want to have this turned, so the side seams are still open. I want to have this turned with the right side up. And this is my color, it's already pasted. And this piece is going to come on my dress. And let's see, I said I want to have it face like this, and this is how it's truly going to face, you see, with the points on the inside. So that means that I want to have it this way oriented on the bodice. So I want to have it with the favorite edge up, that I can see it. So the right side is going to be the one that is going to flip onto the body. So I want to have it now. Let's see, probably I did not make that shoulder notch. Very bad, very, very bad. I'm going to put them together like so. Yes, I have here the middle then. I'm just going to use my pattern piece. Align the center back. Here I'm going to come a little bit shorter, of course, because I have the seam. But now I have this. Let's see. I'm just going to cut a really small notch here, the center back. And let me see, where is the other one? Let's see, center back. And the shoulder is going to be here. Let's see if I have both. No, I have only one. Fix that other one too. Just a really small notch, just enough for me to see it. Okay, so let's put again, let's be sure that we are doing good. So this is going how it's going to look in the end. So I want to flip it, and I have here the notch for the on the bodice on the front. I put a pin. I have here the shoulder notch on my collar aligning with the shoulder notch of the bodice, taking care that I have the seam allowance of the shoulder oriented to the back. Then I'm coming around and I have the center back of my collar, you know, I made the notch, is going to come together with the one of the bodice, and I have here a small notch. Let's see, where am I here? Put a pin on it, and so I'm going to go on and I'm going to baste this again with a 6mm seam allowance, and coming back here. Of course I'll have to cut off those little threads. So I'm going to baste this with the sewing machine. So the collar is basted in place. I'm going to turn it, you can see better here, and you can see that this is my stitching line, so it's stitched with the sewing machine with a straight stitch, and this is how it's going to eventually in the end sit on my body, flat against my chest. So the next thing what we need to do is to attach the facing, and to do that let's see, how can I orient the best. I have here the front, and I have here the other front, and here I have the collar. I hope you can see a little bit. I'm going to zoom just a bit in, and here I have the facing. So the facing is stitched at the shoulders, and I just serged everything, and then I finished the edge of the facing with my cover locker, or with my serger, I should say. So now I can pin this in place. Very important is that my collar is out of the way, so it's going to be sandwiched between the facing and the bodice of the dress, and I'm going to put this together. And I did orient, when I serged the edge of the facing, I oriented the shoulder seam to the front, and that's to exact the opposite from what the inside the shoulder seam is pressed to the back. So like this I have just a little bit lesser bulk, and then I can come here, and I know that I need to come all the way down here at the edge of my bodice, and then I can walk this around and pin it in place. Again, very important is that the collar is sandwiched here between the facing and the bodice of the dress, so it's here inside. So I'm going to pin this around, and I'm going to sew it. I'm going to sew it with my sewing machine, I think. I have the facing sewn on the bodice, right sides together, as I said, with the collar sandwiched here between the facing and the bodice, as you can see. And what I need to do now is I need to understitch this. And how I'm going to do that, the idea is that we are going to understitch the seam, or we are going to stitch the seam allowance to the facing, like so. So if you watch from the right side, the seam allowances here are pressed to the facing, and I'm going to stitch this, and that's called understitching. I'm going to stitch that with maybe 2 millimeters away from the seam here. So I'm going to understitch, and then I am going to press this because by understitching the seam allowance also here at the collar, when I'm going to understitch this, so the seam allowance of everything, bodice, facing and collar, they are going to be stitched to the facing, and then when I'm going to turn the facing to the inside of the garment, like so, the collar is going to come naturally to the front. So I'm going to understitch this, and I'm going to this is now understitched, and I'm going to to zoom in a little bit. I think you can see that row of stitches here, right here, and this is my understitching, and by that I mean that you see here the seam allowances are stitched on the facing, and from the right side you should have no stitching at all. Oh, this is really zoomed in. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. So I was sewing, and I was wondering, maybe you are wondering why I'm not clipping anything and why I'm not trimming anything. That's because the seam allowances in this pattern are really so in such a way added to avoid all that extra clipping and extra trimming, and so saving also a lot of time and also some fabric. As you can see, the facing really wants to come by itself here on the right to the wrong side. Without this is not even pressed, but you can see already that the edge is really nice and neat. So now I do need to press a little bit, and I think I'm going to use my my pressing, I don't know, roll. I want to say a sausage. So I'm going to use this, and I'm going to let the seam by itself turn to the inside. It's not really needed too much handling there, and this is where my little collar it is, and lay my back neck, and here also I can give it a little bit of a press, not too much, it's more steam than pressing. And then I have here the other front, which is also nicely understitched, and now it's laying really nice and flat, as you can see. I'm going to a little bit come out here, so let's see. So this is also ready. Now the next step is to put the ties on the bodice now. So I'm going to take the ties, and what I want to do, I know that my right tie is the longer one, so the longer one is coming on the right bodice, so I'm going to put this away. And so we have here, let me put this on the right way that I'm not getting confused. I need to have the facing flipping out. I don't need to paste it yet anywhere, so it's going to, I need to take care of it. So now I have, this is the right bodice, so right as worn, and let's see, I have here the right tie. What I want to be careful is that the seamed edge of this tie, here you have a fold and here you have a seam, that seam is going to come to face down, let's say. So this is going to be on the upper part, it's going to face up. And now I have here my bodice, the right one. What I want to do now is to take my right tie, the longer one, and I want to flip it. So I'm coming from the armhole, let's say, or from the side, and I'm going to put it here on this little edge. And what I want to be careful, again, this is the seamed part, is going to face down, and I'm going to put it here. And what I need to take care here is that on this point, I'm going to, I hope you can see this, but I think you can see pretty well. On this point here, the fold of the tie needs to be exactly against the seam where I just made the seam of the of the facing, attaching the facing. So I'm going to put a pin here. As you can see, it's exactly against that seam, and on the under part I need to be careful that I still have like a 6 millimeter, where am I? That I have here a 6 millimeter seam allowance for my skirt from the thigh to the edge. So I'm going to put that. You know, this is the beauty of the jersey, that is flexible and is stretchy, and we can maneuver this a little bit, that it's going to sit like we want. Because in the end, later after the skirt is done, attached, this is coming like this, and it's going to follow a little bit the skirt line. Here is coming going to be stitched over the bodice, and then a little bit here over the seam of the skirt. So at this moment I only need to stitch the tie in place here. So this is for the right, and I am going to do exactly the same for the left bodice. I'm going to stitch this fast, and then we can go further with attaching the skirts. Before we go further to attach the skirt to the bodice of the dress, I need to make, and you have to make also, to finish the front part of the skirt, or that the edge, you know, the free edge that is coming on the front. On this, I'm going to bring the paper in the image. So what we have here, this is the total hem of the edge of the skirt. I'm going to fold first on the bigger line, and then on the small line, or on the inside line, and then on the first line. And here you have the hem. If you follow the instructions, with the method that is in the instructions, you will not be able to change the length of the dress later. So if you are not sure about how long you want to have the dress, and if you think, well, maybe I'm going to make it a little bit shorter, what you can do in order to go on, of course, with your construction, I think the best is, because what is important is that the skirt is finished here at the edge, at the waist, where it's getting further attached to the bodice. So what you can do is to fold as per pattern, to fold on those two lines. You can see here one crease and the second one. So you fold is like 1 centimeter, and then again 1.5 centimeters. You follow the lines on the pattern, and instead of stitching everything, because in the instructions you need to turn up your hem allowance, like here. You turn up the hem allowance, you baste it for a few centimeters to keep it in place, and then you turn the longer edge. I have here a pin. You turn it, and then your hem here is already enclosed, and you have a nice edge here at the part that is wrapping, you know. So that's the purpose of making the hem at this point. But again, if you are not sure and you think you are going to shorten the dress later, you can also press this crease anyway, the longer one, and then stitch only for a few centimeters here up. Actually, it's only this little piece that you need to have, but to work easier, you can stitch, I don't know, maybe 20 centimeters, and then you can come back later when your dress is done, and you decide on your hem, and then you decide on your hem, you put up the hem, and then finish this edge. So this is also an option, but I know that my hem, the 3 centimeters that are original in the pattern, are for me enough. So I press the hem up, and then I press on the pattern lines. Here I have this finished, so I'm going to stitch here just with a normal regular straight stitch, only this edge, and the hem I'm going to make it later with my cover stitch machine, and you'll do that with your cover stitch machine or your twin needle or whatever finish you want to have. But now I'm going to stitch only these edges on the front skirts, the inside and the outside, and then we are finally at the moment to attach it on the bodice. This is the edge of my skirt, which is hemmed, let's say. that little edge. And here I have my hem, which is already turned. You should also, if you are going to put the hem at this moment, you should also baste here a little bit to keep it in place, but this fabric is keeping the crease really well, so I'm just going to let it like this. So this is now ready to be attached to the skirt. And I'm going to do that by using my serger. And I'm also at that step, I'm going to put also again some clear elastic into the seam, just because, as I said, I want to have the seam, the waistline sitting a little bit better on my waist, even if this is going to hang, let's say, or is going to try to pull it down because of the weight of the fabric. So at this moment I'm ready to attach the skirts to the bodice, and I'm going to show you for one of them. So I have here my bodice face up, and this is the tie. Of course, I'm just going to place it here over. So let's see. What I'm interested in is only this piece here, because this is my waist and this is where my skirt is going to come. And let's see if I have the correct skirt. So of course I need to have it with the pleats here on to the center front, and I'm going to put this, of course, right sides together, and I need some pins. So I'm just going to stitch this with the serger, with a 6mm seam allowance, and I am also going to add immediately the clear elastic in the waist. So I'm just going to align this together here. Let's see. And this here at the front, you have to be careful. I'm going to zoom a little bit, that your skirt is coming 6mm away from the edge, because later here you'll come with your facing over, and you have to have the place here, or the space, let's say the seam allowance, to sew the let me put a pin on it. So I place my skirt 6mm away from the side. I'm going to place a pin like this. Let's see. And then when you come with your facing over, like so. Let's see. Then this is going to come, well, imagine it's sewn. This is going to come really nice and flush. So like so. You see? So this is what you have at the end. But that's why it's important, because then you see here, this is everything flush. Then it's important that now you are putting your skirt, you are aligning your skirt 6mm away from the front edge here, where your tie is and everything. So I'm going to stitch this, both of the skirt with the 6mm seam allowance, and putting also the clear elastic in it. And I need to insert, of course, the clear elastic. I still have the 4-thread formation, and I'm going to, let's see, I need to put my presser foot up, stick a little bit of elastic here in the hole, put it down, otherwise my serger is not going to sew. And okay, and now I have here my skirt, which is a little bit pinned, and I want to have the elastic on the bodice part. So I'm going to start sewing from the with the bodice of the dress up, and I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to align, let's see if I can take a little bit of zoom out here. I'm going to align this very well. So here I have again the skirt is just at at the edge, so I keep that seam allowance that I will need to finish that front part. Let's see, everything is nice and lined up with each other. Let's see, I need to put a pin here in. So this is lined, as you lined up. Let's see if I can. Okay. And now I can start sewing. Let's see. I'm going to keep that tie away and put it on my presser foot here. And if you're not sure, you can also baste a little bit with a few hand stitches to be sure that that skirt is going to stay in the right place. Presser foot down. And now I'm just going to continue stitching all the way to the side seam, stitching the bodice onto the skirt, or the other way around. And keep in mind, you need to have the elastic here in the front of the foot, that is not going to be by accident cut by the knife of your serger. So I'm going to continue, do the other skirt also, and meet you back at the table. I have the skirt is attached, so now I want to put the tie back. It doesn't matter if you put it under the skirt or whatever, because what is interesting for me now is to sew this little edge here. And you see my facing is, I'm going to put the skirt a little bit away, so you can see here I have the bodice. This is the bodice of the dress. This is the facing, which normally should come to the inside like this, but now I need to have the facing open. I'm going to move the tie here to the inside. I'm going to put the skirt also back, just to release this part here, this little end where my ties are attached, or my tie, because I have here only one. And what I want to do, I'm going to cut this little thread here. What I want to do is to wrap the facing over the tie, and I want to be careful because this is understitched, the facing is understitched. I want to favor that seam over the tie, like so. And let me put a pin on this. Here. And you have to rearrange this a little bit to be sure that you don't catch any fabric that you don't want to catch. So let me put this one again. So this understitched and everything needs to be folded to the with the facing. And I'm going to put here the pin. And what I want to do now is just to attach this. So I need to be careful, my skirt is here underneath, and I want to come exactly, you really need to do this to understand. Don't try to think it too much in your head. So now I am going to stitch this, and also with the 6mm seam allowance, actually a little bit where I stitched my my tie in the first place, and then we'll see what we get at this moment. My ends are really nice finished here. I tried to work a little bit with that extra width of my facing, and this is how it's looking now. I think it's pretty neat. What I need to do now is to top stitch the facing, and as per instructed in the instructions, you'll use you'll top stitch, I don't know, around 2.5 centimeters away from the edge, and I do think that is the best to put here and there a pin to keep it in place. And I will not go any much further than 2.5 centimeters, because otherwise you really get you are going to get in a problem here with this fold, and this is really at 2.5 centimeters away from the edge. So top stitch all the way around, put some pins to keep it in place. So all the way around, also here around the neckline, and this is going to keep everything really nice in place. And because if you don't do this, the way that the pattern is constructed, you have the chance that this front facing is going to flip out on you, and you don't want that. So I'm just putting a few pins, and then I'm going to stitch with a straight stitch. I'm going to stitch from one edge to the other one. So my facing is top stitched, as you can see, and I did it all the way around, starting here at this point and ending to the other end. And this needs to be a little bit of pressing, and this is ready. The next step is to sew the side seams together, and I'm just going to do that with my serger, of course. So you see this little step just before you are going to sew your side seams. I made this dress already 3 times, and every time I forgot to let the hole where your tie needs to go. So on your right side seam, before you are going, so when you are at the step to now to sew the side seams, start from the hem to the waist, maybe 1 centimeter above the waistline. Stop, and then let I don't know, maybe 2-3, not, let's see, leave a gap of 1 inch or 3 centimeters, and then start again to sew up to the underarm. So this only on your right side seam. Of course, this is my finished dress, and I realized that I forgot to do that. So if you are like me and you are going to forget, so by now you have to sew your side seam, but I'm going to unpick this because I just forgot. So I'm going just 1 centimeter above the side seam, above the waist seam, excuse me, and I'm going to let a gap. I'm going to just, so this is my gap, let's see, and I'm going to unpick this, going to cut also the needle threads. I forget this every time. Can you imagine that? Even for this tutorial I forgot to do it. And I'm going to do my usual method to take this away, cut the one of the loopers only, and then the rest is coming really easy. Okay, so I'm going to stop here. And to reinforce this a little gap, let's take this away. Okay, and now I have my little hole for the tie, as you can see. And to reinforce this, I'm going to take a few stitches with my sewing machine, a few here and a few here, and everything is done. This is not going to unravel because jersey is you can leave the edges raw, and if you really want, you can even make a small let's say to top stitch it here with the sewing machine to have it nice to the inside stitched. So by now you are going to go further with the construction of your dress, sewing the side seams. So put the side seams together, sew from the hem up on both sides, and then while I'm at the serger, I'm also going to sew my sleeves closed, also with a 6mm seam allowance on the serger. And to make my life easy, I know that I will have let's see, a 2.5 centimeter hem. So I have here 2.5. So I'm going to press this, and I'm just going to make a crease to press it, and then of course when I'm going to sew the seam I'm going to open this, but the later is already pressed and I can stitch it very easy with my cover stitch machine or with any other way I decide to make to sew the hems. So we are almost at the end. Now I need to insert my sleeve in the armhole. I'm always doing it without putting too much pins and stuff, because I know that there is not a lot of ease in these sleeves, and I'm putting it in the round instead of the flat. If you find the flat method working better, be my guest, just do that. So put first the sleeve and then stitch the side seam with the sleeve seam, but I'm going to put it in the round. I always do that. So I'm just going to match the underarm seam of the sleeve with the side seam of the skirt, and sometimes I'm even putting the side seam to the back and the sleeve seam to the front, just to have a little bit lesser bulk. I'm going to put a pin, so right sides together, and then I'm bringing the dress to the back and I'm finding my shoulder notch. Of course, double check that you have the correct sleeve, and I did double check to see if I have 2 notches here, and I do, and these ones are on the back of my dress. So I'm good there. And now I'm just going to take this to the serger, and I'm just going to serge with the sleeve against the bed of the machine, against the feed dog, and with my differential feed on neutral. And I'm going to do that for both sleeves. I'm going to show you on one of them how I'm working that. So I'm going to start here. Let's see, I'm going to start at the underarm. I just need to take a few stitches. Again, the sleeve is against the feed dog, the differential feed is on neutral. And if I was to sew this with a sewing machine, the same, the sleeve needs to be against the feed dog, and the IDT on my puff, that double transport, needs to be disengaged. Let's see. And again, I have a really weird position here. I just need to match this. Anyway, I know that the first, until the shaping of the armhole, there is no ease, and for the rest in the sleeve cap there is a little bit of ease, but just a little bit. With my hand here under, I'm guiding the sleeve. I'm not pulling anything, but by guiding the sleeve to be on the correct seam allowance, I'm just pulling it a little bit inside. I hope you can see that. And then I can, ideally you should not take anything away, because the seam allowance is here only 6mm. But you know, a smidge is really not going to make a difference. Okay, and I'm approaching here the shoulder notch and the shoulder seam. Now I'm going to find my way to the other side. Let's see, match this a little bit, because I know that all the easing, if there is any, needs to happen up in the cap. Let's see that I'm not cutting anything. So I'm going to continue at the end. As you can see, my position here is really bad. Struggling with all this soft jersey, which is really delicious to wear actually. And I'm coming to the end, and I'm just going to put my knife, disengage my knife, and just take a few stitches. Needles up, press a foot up, work to the back, and now I can cut it. And my sleeve is done. And as you can see, they are completely, this is at the shoulder, there are completely no, see, no gathers or no crazy stuff. So now I can do the other sleeve, and I'm ready to make the hems. I finished my hems with my cover stitch machine. Also on the sleeves I used the same. Of course you could use twin needle or maybe even a zigzag, or I don't know, whatever method you like. I use my cover stitch machine because it's really fast and easy to make. So this is the end of our dress. I'm going to show it to you to see what I did, and I hope you have also really nice results after this tutorial. So this was my tutorial for making the Cherish wrap dress from Designer Stitch. I hope you got some help from all the steps I showed to you. Again, I'm really sorry about forgetting the hole in the side seam on the right one, but as you saw, it's a really fast and easy thing to repair. So this is how mine is looking. I'm going to take some pictures and I'm going to show them also on social media. So if you are making your own Cherish wrap dress, please tag me in your posts. I'll really love to see your results. It's not a very complicated pattern, actually it's pretty easy. If you make the pleats, then you know, and take care to put the colors starting at the notches in order to have them the same on your body, then it's really not so difficult. So I hope you enjoyed my sewing tutorial. Please subscribe to my channel, give me thumbs up if you enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!